providing the opportunities for refugees. I know it is very difficult. It is challenging. It is not easy because the word refugee itself is complex. It is difficult. Thank you so much for not giving up on us, on the people. Together we can create change, we can support each other, and we can empower each other. So thank you so much for every individual in this room, and also to all your colleagues who have been working so hard. Thanks for not giving up. Myself, many people here in this room know my story, so sorry for repeating. I grew up in a male-dominated country where women and girls have to really fight for every small stuff that is a fundamental human right. Just because being a girl, being a woman, you have to fight. And you cannot gain access to basic rights, for example, right to education, right to have fun, do social activities, and play any sport you want. For me, that was the challenge. I grew up in a family with more men than women. I'm the only daughter, only girl in my family, with brothers who love to play football, kick around, street football. It's quite fun and kind of quite popular game in Afghanistan, where I come from. I really enjoyed the game, but everything changed when I started growing up and become more girl or woman look-alike. That means that I was different from my brothers, and I was told, now it's time for you to prepare for a husband, to prepare yourself to become a mother, to become a wife, to become a sister-in-law, and to become someone's daughter in the next family. And someone who loves to play football, kick around, and love eating food but not cooking food. I hate kitchen. To cook food. I don't know anything about cooking. I'm so bad. I love going to the kitchen when I'm hungry. That doesn't mean to disrespect to people who loves cooking food, but that's me, right? And maybe my brother, like I too love my brother, they love cooking. But because of this mindset that women should belong to the kitchen and they are the ones who should cook food, it has taken them away because it's the culture thing, right? Man should stay away outside, and the women should stay in the kitchen. We really fought hard, and I said, I only go to the kitchen when there is food. Of course, I will try to help my mom with everything else, but not the kitchen. And that happened when I was pushed to not play football anymore, and when I was stopped. That's where I found and I faced the challenge, but also realized the bigger challenge and issue in the society, in the country. And that was the challenge that was preventing women and girls from the society, the mindset that says women should belong to the kitchen. And we, as a women facing that, I had a question to myself: if I don't stand for my right, who will do that? I mean, how many brothers, how many fathers will fight that? If I don't participate in that fight, I'm going to fight for myself, but also for other girls. At least I can try my best. And that's what happened. I wanted to be part of the solution, but not the challenge. And we used football as a tool to start a movement in Afghanistan and go to schools to get women and girls to football. And as a result, many women and girls joined football. And when we started the movement or the conversation, it wasn't about football. It was about the bigger issue and why they had to join this movement, why they had to join us. And that was the powerful message. The way we communicated was so important. It was about the why we need to come together, then what we should do. And that's why I've never played well. I'm so horrible in football. But if you see my photos everywhere, you say, oh, like she was maybe a Cristiano Ronaldo. No, my story's everywhere, but we use the power of that beautiful game to be the voice for our voiceless sisters. Unfortunately, my activism and my voice put me in a trouble that I had to leave my country in order to survive and to be alive. The movement was successful, the national teams founded, many women and girls joined football, got to education, scholarships, and so many other opportunities through football. But unfortunately, I had to leave my country and gain a new identity, and that was refugee. Before becoming refugee, I traveled a lot across the world with football, with my team. That was different type of traveling, but this was different. I became a refugee. I was in different refugee centers. I experienced life in refugee centers, and that was toughest. There are so many things as a refugee. When you leave your country, the first thing is you leave your memories, you leave your community. It is not a choice. It's not that you're not going on a picnic or a summer holiday that you're looking forward. The luckiest one get the opportunity to pack their backpack and run. And life changes overnight. And you leave the whole history of you, your community, your history, your people, your dreams. And you don't know what is waiting for you. You don't know what is life when you leave everybody behind. And you don't know even if you can see the people again, your friends, your family, if you can see them again, if it's possible again. This is the life of people that they live. And then it's the identity. You are someone in your country, and then you become nobody. In a refugee center, with an ID card that you're known with a few numbers, asylum seekers. And then you wait in those refugee centers for days and years and months, waiting for a letter that comes from an immigration center and decides for you if you should stay or not. When they're calling you for interview to investigate why you should stay, why you work to stay in this country, going through all the trauma that you have been dealing, repeating that again and again to the police, and then to the immigration officer, and continuously going through trauma to fight for your right to get a permit to stay in a new country. And that's toughest one. When you sit and say why we should keep you in this country, and then you have to really fight. Some people, because they have been through trauma and through a lot in their life, and they have lost so many people in their life, when they sit in front of these immigrant offices, they don't know from where they should start their story, how they can fight their case. And that's why they get rejection after rejection after rejection, because they were not able to fight their case, because the immigrant officer didn't believe, because she or he wasn't able to tell the story. So these are the things that refugees face. The other thing is, in best beautiful Europe, where humanitarians always talks everybody, everywhere, there's books actually about human rights, women rights, and all those rights. It's published a lot here in this part of the world. Refugees are put in the refugee centers, in the places like torturing people. The way that its governments, politicians communicate about you as a refugee, it's like you're a criminal. You've done a crime, you became a refugee, and you deserve a torture. So the torture is, you sit in a refugee center, which is at the middle of nowhere, away from civilization, away from everything. A place where it's old military compound. So you're someone from Afghanistan or Syria or some countries that you escaped from war. And yet you're set back in that place to keep reminding you it's still war zone. You can still see tanks and some military tools and everything around the refugee center. It's like it's just reminding you that this is where you are. It is unfortunate that if you are a refugee coming from Afghanistan or Syria or Africa, that's one type of behavior towards you than someone coming from another. The whole behavior, and you have witnessed yourself the past few years. And that's why the politicians here says the refugees who comes from certain countries should stay in those refugee centers, and if it's, for example, refugees from somewhere near European countries, they don't deserve that. They shouldn't stay in the refugee centers because they know it's a horrible place. They know that. But this is what people at the refugee centers face. The trauma, the loss, lack of identity or loss of identity, and unknown situation. People don't sleep. And when they sleep, they have nightmares. And the nightmares are, most of the time, when you sleep, you have a dream of finding yourself at the airport where you cannot get into a country to be safe, and you're put back to your country where you escaped. And that's the nightmare where most of refugees have it, and I had it too. So you actually start skipping to sleep actually. You don't sleep. People, most of the time in the refugee centers, they don't sleep. They ignore to sleep in the even nights, and they stay awake. I don't know how many of you have been in the refugee centers, but that is what happens. And there's also refugee centers, school detention centers. Because you seek asylum, you're put in some sort of prison that you're not allowed to get out. The conditions are so bad in a very beautiful European countries. Recently been in Malta, refugee centers in Malta, where people are put in a very bad conditions. That's against human right, against any right. Just because they sought asylum, and they have to wait until they get an answer. That's what I faced in the trauma, the stress, in unknown situation where you feel you're hanging in the air and you don't have wings to fly and you don't have feet to put yourself on the ground, that unknown situation makes you depressed. Deep depression, where some people cannot handle it and they have suicidal thoughts. Some people want to just stop it, want to finish, because they have nothing left in their country and they cannot wait anymore. And that's what many people tried when I was at the refugee centers, and especially women. Football helped me back in my country in sport to overcome some of the challenges and feel some sort of freedom and fun at the middle of all the crises and all the negativity around me as women, around so many women. Football was this 1 hour, 2 hour football was a skip for us to just enjoy us, enjoy the freedom, enjoy the space, enjoy the sisterhood. And we didn't think about the techniques of anything about football, but the joy of that game. And when I was in the refugee centers, I thought, I lost my purpose. I was someone, I had all these, I was living my dream. Of course, I was challenged there and everything, but I was in my country, my people, I was living my dream. And I lost everything. I don't have a purpose. I'm somewhere I don't recognize myself. Not my country, not my people, nothing I can recognize. I lost my purpose. But when I become a translator to one of the women who tried to suicide, it finished her life, that's where I was connected back with my purpose. That no matter where I go in this world, no matter how much I lose, my purpose can stay with me and I will never lose that. And that is how to serve people, how to use my power to support someone. As a human being, we all have the power. Someone has the voice, someone has some sort of talent. We, as a human being, individuals, we all have power. So important to know that what is our power, recognize that, and use it not only for ourselves, but also for the others in our communities. To do our bit, to do our part. For me, it was my voice, and the tool was football and sport. I knew how to use that to bring joy in my country, so women could feel happy and safe in that 1 hour or two. And that's what I used again in the refugee centers that I lived, that helped me and helped the women in the refugee centers. And when I got permission to stay at the refugee center in Denmark, that's where I ended up, from being in the different Scandinavian countries. Denmark was a place that gave me right to stay on permission. Then I founded God Power, and that was from the idea of using sport and education, because sport is one element in the society to connect people together and different communities and societies together. It can and it has played a great role by building bridges between different divided communities. It has a beautiful, unique love language. You don't need to actually speak the language. You don't need to look like each other. But the minute the ball rolls, it's just different. You start communicating. You start understanding each other. You start enjoying a common, beautiful game, the joy. That is the beauty that brings. Now I talk a lot about football, but there's also different sports. Then it's education. Education means not the school education, but informal education. Supporting women and girls coming from countries like Afghanistan, all those countries that refugees usually come, because they have lacked so much knowledge, education, and access to opportunities and awareness about their right as a human, as a woman. And this education can help them to understand first who they are. What are their values as a human being? What is their power, what is their passion, and how they can use that to stand for their right. So that's why we come up with sport and education as a tool to empower and support women and girls. I talked so much and I forgot to actually click on this. As you can see here, what we are trying to do at Girl Power, our ecosystem or sisterhood system is to use the power of education and sport. As I said, our main work and main objective is advocacy and how we can use different tools to do advocacy and build networks. So our leadership program is mainly targeting young women who are already in sport, who has passion to use the sport to give back and contribute to their communities. And that is identifying role models, because if I go to a community that they don't identify themselves with me, it's very difficult to convince them to do something. But if they have role models and someone that they can identify themselves with, that's much easier to communicate. And in our leadership programs, our target group are women and girls, mainly women from young women between age of 18 to 25. And sometimes we say we give exceptions to 30 years old. And they are refugee women, migrants, or ethnic minorities. Then we have mentoring program that supports us one-to-one, supports women in sport and refugee women who comes and joins our ecosystem and who need support. We do have training programs in the refugee centers, but also in marginalized communities. We have our HQ in Denmark. We started in Denmark, but we moved out from Denmark to Germany. We have teams and offices in Germany, in Greece. We are also registered, and we started working in the UK and several other countries. We join football sports tournaments by bringing our young leaders or the women that we connected through our ecosystem. Either we organize festivals or sports festivals or tournaments, or we collaborate with our partners there. So this is how our leadership and mentorship programs, some of these topics that are covered there. Advocacy and storytelling is one of the main part of our work, because we want the women to understand, gain the skills, build the skills to own their stories, because storytelling has the power. And if you tell your story, is one type of impact that you make. If someone else tells you a story, it's different. So ownership on the stories. We join the pledges, we organize campaigns, we do a lot of sports activities where people in the community and different communities can get the opportunity to meet each other. And everything is so much grassroots based, mentoring and supporting and empowering each other. And that's the target group, so we are working. And our journey started from Denmark and went to different countries. Here are some of our photos that we have expanded to a few countries and got new teams on board. In 2021, I've been heavily involved in campaigning and advocating for the Afghan female footballers or Afghan women footballers who are under a lot of risk and face challenges in Afghanistan because Afghanistan fell in the hands of Taliban, and some of these women were publicly identified and they were advocates for human rights and women's rights. Our organization was active in Afghanistan, a lot working with grassroots football, but also coaches. Some of them were our coaches. So with the help and support of Sports Network, we managed to evacuate, get governments on board to evacuate more than 300 women and girls with their families outside Afghanistan. And it's a great team of people with advocates, human rights lawyers and government people, many people from around the world, organizations, anyone who believed in that campaign and got governments on board to get them out. So the national team up there in the photo, you can see they're in Australia. Right now we are running a campaign because they have lost their right to represent Afghanistan. They became refugees. The Football Federation of Afghanistan is not recognizing them anymore. FIFA is not recognizing them anymore, and they have lost their right to represent Afghanistan. So with advocates like Malala and so many others, we started a campaign. It's 2 years now that we are running these campaigns. We have collected petitions and signatures from more than 100,000 people to get FIFA on board to accept that and recognize them and allow them to play from diaspora, because football was the tool for them to be the voice for voiceless or for us. And we have been also working with the youth team in the UK that was also evacuated with the support of government of UK and Amnesty and so many other organizations, sports organizations, being amazing in welcoming them, providing support. And these women are shining and flourishing with all the challenges that they have been facing as refugees. But the world of the sport and the family of the sport being great, especially football, both in Australia and the UK. They have started working. They have got some degrees in education. They are playing football. They're active. They have started using football again to advocate for women's rights as a human right, not only for the women of Afghanistan, but there's so many women. In refugee centers, this is the picture from one of the refugee centers. We bring dancers, we bring football community from professional athletes to some grassroots and street footballers to the refugee centers where we dance, we play sports and do a lot of activities so the refugees join. So what we do is that we don't just say, hey, come, we are coming here to do something for you. We coordinate with the Red Cross. That's they're working or responsible for the refugee centers. We put our sound box there, we start dancing, and then they join. That's what happens, and that's what we do also when we go there, play football. We start playing football, and they start joining. The music is another thing that they join us. They help us to actually bring people. The minute we play music from different countries, people get curious. They get out. They want to come. And it's also when we work together with women, which is very difficult, because sometimes they just don't want to do any sport. It's what we do is that, okay, what is the mood today? Should we dance and not play any sport? And then someone say, hey, can I play this music from my country? And then one person plays the music. It's not like we don't lead that session, we facilitate. Sometimes it's good to facilitate. Don't come that you know everything. That doesn't work, and we try, that doesn't work. We play the music, what they say the music is on their own choice. Someone start dancing and say, hey, come in here, dance here so the rest can follow. So they feel some sort of ownership, and some feel like they have the power to do that. And that starts, activity starts. We have been delivering the leadership programs in different countries, as you can see here. We not only work with the refugees, but we work also with the schools, where the refugees, the women that are trained through our leadership programs, they can then go, we organize a collaboration with schools, where these young women can go to schools and give presentation about their journey, who they are, how life as a refugee is, who is refugee. So in that way, we are raising awareness about life of a refugee, but also supporting women to practice their skills of presentation and public speaking, and they feel empowered, they feel good. Most of the time what they're saying is that I'm happy I shared my story with someone to change the narrative about refugees. I hope these kids learn something about my journey so they can go home, and when they turn the TV and the father says, oh, refugee again, then they say, no, I met today a young woman. She had a tough journey as a refugee. She is trying everything possible to integrate in the community. So that's what most of the time we hear from our refugee young leaders, and that's what they want to do. So we support them. We recently also joined the Sports Pledge. We are hoping, and we are trying our best, we are committed to this, to create opportunities and empower young leaders. We want to shift, as I say, old mindset around refugees and about refugees. And we are very proud to be part of this pledge, because I don't believe that we as individuals and as organizations can change alone anything unless we stand together and work together and support each other. And we all doing amazing things, and we have been talking about 2 days about the examples of how everybody is joining and working and trying their best to do something good in the community to empower and support refugees. It would be great and when we start as collective to work together more towards a collective movement, to use the sport as a power to support and change the mindsets, and encourage others to join the pledge, to join us in this movement, to flourish, to be happy, and to change the world that we want to have. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm sorry for taking a lot of time. I know everybody is leaving, so thank you so much, everybody.